This Halloween, ghoul all out with Instacart. Whether you're hunting for the perfect costume, eyeing that giant bag of candy, or casting spells with eerie decor, we've got it all in one place. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time, minimum $10 per order, service fees, other fees, and additional terms apply. Instacart, bringing the store to your door this Halloween.
Expand the way you work and think with Claude by Anthropic. Whether brainstorming solo or working with a team, Claude is AI built for you. It's perfect for analyzing images and graphs, generating code, processing multiple languages, and solving complex problems. Plus, Claude is incredibly secure, trustworthy, and reliable, so you can focus on what matters. Curious? Visit claude.ai and see how Claude can elevate your work.
Hello and welcome to 31 Days of Terror, day number 1. So it begins. For this month, you are going to have listener stories. You are going to have interviews with other podcasts. You are going to have some very special compilation episodes. But for today, I have 2 spooky listener stories for you. And the last story comes from August the 15th, 2024. And story number 1 comes from Nicci. This is the 3rd time that I am writing in with some stories. I was reminded of some incidents that occurred while we were living in military housing. The first was in a 2-bedroom townhouse. I was upstairs in my son's bedroom folding clothes when I heard the front door slam and the distinct sound of military boots on the tile floor of the kitchen. Thinking my husband was home for lunch, I called out to him. When I got no response, I glanced out the window to see his car was not outside. I stayed exactly where I was sitting until he did come home. I asked him if he had come home earlier. He said no. I know that some might think it could have been the neighbours, but there were no cars in the lot and my neighbours all worked during the day. We moved into a larger 3-bedroom townhome on base where I had my second son. The master bedroom was downstairs with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs. One of the bedrooms was directly above the master bedroom. My eldest son, Ari, was 4 at the time and was adamant that he did not want that room to be his bedroom. The bathroom was directly across the hall from that bedroom. Nobody liked being in that room. We had family and friends stay with us and they would rather sleep on the floor in the living room than in that room. My son would not take a bath unless I closed and locked the door, and I had to be in the bathroom with him for him to use that toilet. When we tried to transition the baby into that room, he would make himself vomit before I could even get down the stairs. I watched him do it on a baby monitor multiple times. He slept in a crib in my bedroom the rest of the time we lived there. Ari is 11 now and recently told me there was a child in that room and they creeped him out. He couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl, but felt like it was a boy. My cousin who lived nearby would come and stay with me on the weekends when my husband was away. She told me there was something in that room too. She always slept on the couch in the living room. There was nothing above the living room. Ari's room had a window that opened up to the roof of the living room. Almost every night we would hear what sounded like a small child running back and forth across the roof. It really freaked us out at first, but it was just something that happened. I told myself that it was raccoons or something. We got new neighbours after a while. One night while my cousin was staying with us, the running started. A little while later there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find the military police on my doorstep. They wanted to do a safety check because my neighbours had reported hearing a child on the roof. I said my kids were sleeping, but he was welcome to check. We went upstairs and he checked to find both of my kids sound asleep with the windows locked. We were standing in the living room by the front door when the footsteps started again. The MP called on his radio to his partner outside that there was movement on the roof. His partner radioed back and said, "Dude, I've had my light on the roof the entire time. There is nothing up there." The MPs quickly wished me well and scurried out of there. My cousin and I still laugh about it. My husband has since left the military and we live on a reservation in Montana. Our house is in an area near a river and would have been a good place to set up camp way back when. The house has felt fine to me, but the land itself feels different. I don't really know how to describe it. I would sometimes feel watched while outside. The feeling is more like someone isn't sure about you. Anyway, Ari started coming into our room and sleeping on the floor in the middle of the night. One day while we were listening to the podcast, he asked me if we had any sage. I asked why, and he said that sometimes he wakes up and sees the reflection of a girl with dark braided hair sitting next to him through his TV. We mounted his TV higher up on the wall the next day so that it doesn't show a direct reflection of his bed, because no thank you. A family friend is a member of the local tribe that assists with their spiritual endeavours. He doesn't have an official title as of now, and I don't want to misrepresent their traditions. He suggested that I get some sage and smudge the house. While going to each corner of each room with the sage, I told the spirits we mean no harm. We are the caretakers of this land and that they must leave the house and family in peace. Basically assured this little girl that we are good people, she doesn't need to protect the land anymore, and she belongs with the Creator. Ari hasn't spoken of her since, and the entire property feels so much better. The last couple of times I've written before, I had stories involving my grandmother, first alive and then when she passed. Her passing was both devastating and relieving. Devastating because she was my person, and relieving because she was in so much pain and ready to go. I both hoped that she would visit me and that she never would. I didn't want her sticking around for me. About 6 months after she passed, someone who was like a second dad to me, Brian, passed. Again, devastating but relieving. The day after he died, I had a very vivid dream. I was sitting in a bright white room. There were no definite walls or anything, just a white space. As I looked around, I saw who I knew was Brian standing with his back to me. As I tried to approach him, he pointed to the side. I turned to see my grandma walking down some steps with a plate of cheese and crackers, a favourite snack of hers. I said, "What are you doing here?" She gave me the look she always gave me that says I said something crazy. She said, "What are you talking about? I'm always here." Then I immediately woke up. My kids go to a rural school. We're talking about 30 kids total in kindergarten through 6th grade. Every year they do some standardised testing. Parents volunteer to bring breakfast on those testing days for the kids. After much deliberation between Ari and I, we decided to bring yogurt parfait for our day. The night before I was meant to bring breakfast, I had another dream. I was walking through a department store when I saw a canopy tent in the aisle ahead. There was a group of people handing out something to kids. As I got closer, I saw her. My grandma was helping hand out whatever they had. I ran up to her and hugged her. When I pulled back, she said, "These are a good idea. Kids love these," and held up what they were handing out. It was a yogurt parfait identical to the ones that I had assembled with my kids. Visitation or not, these dreams have been incredibly comforting for me, and the most vivid dreams I've ever had. What prompted me to write again today was an encounter I had at work this morning. A man I work with lost his battle to cancer this past weekend. He was truly one of the greatest people you could ever have met. He had a very calming, warm energy. It's been 10 months since he was last at work, but when he was working, he was always there before me. I get to work at 6 a.m. I would come in and he would walk out of his office to check on me. This morning I came in, turned the alarm off, and I swear I felt him approaching me from his office. I instinctually said, "Hey Tom, it's just me." And then the feeling faded. As I sat alone for the bit of time before anybody else showed up, I could hear movement in his office. When the next person showed up, they asked me if I'd been in Tom's office, and I said no. I think Tom is. They just stared at me, colour draining from their face, and said, "Okay, well the light was on, so I was just wondering." The light in that office is motion activated and was not on when I arrived hours earlier. As much as I would love for him to be here, I hope he was just stopping by as he moves on. There seems to be a lot of stories that are taking place in military housing. And initially I was going to say, it sounds like residual energy with military boots on the tiled floors. But actually, it doesn't really sound like residual energy when the kids are so desperate not to stay in that one particular room that they're physically making themselves sick. Do you know what I mean? That's pretty significant. And then to hear something running around on the roof outside, because of course initially you're going to be like, oh, it's clearly just wild animals. But when it's like the military police are sent to your door to do a welfare check on the kids because the neighbours are like, the kids are running around on the roof, that's wild. I wonder if previously something had happened in that house involving a child, involving a little boy, and that's why all of those weird things were happening and you were hearing all those weird sounds and the kids didn't want to be in that particular room. I also love the simplicity of your answer to your son seeing the reflection of a girl sitting next to him through the TV. Just make the TV higher so he can't see the reflection of his bed. So simple, so effective. She might still be there, but you can't see her, so it's fine. I'm obviously joking because I'm aware that afterwards you cleansed the house and looked after the space and all of that jazz. And while obviously, it's never pleasant when somebody in your life dies, I am really glad that they found their way to come back to you in visitation dreams, your grandmother Brian, and obviously, your boss didn't come back to you in a visitation dream. But like you said, all you can do is hope that, he was just stopping by as he moves on, which is a lovely thought, really.
To get people excited about Boost Mobile's new nationwide 5G network, we're offering unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month.
Forever.
Even if you have a baby.
Even if your baby has a baby.
Even if you grow old and wrinkly and you start repeating yourself.
Even if you start repeating yourself.
Even if you're on your deathbed and you need to make one last call.
Or text.
Right, or text. The long-lost son you abandoned at birth.
You'll still get unlimited talk, text, and data for just $25 a month with Boost Mobile.
Forever!
After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
Forever.
Decisions.
Wait a minute. Are you still looking for cars on Carvana?
Yeah, decisions.
When I used Carvana, I found the exact car I was looking for in minutes. Bought it on the spot.
Electric or full diesel? Decisions.
Come on, you've been at it for weeks. Just buy it already.
You're right. Crossover it is. Decisions decided.
Whether you know exactly what you want or like to take your time, buy your car the convenient way with Carvana.
Explaining football to the friend who's just there for the nachos? Hard. Tailgating from home like a pro with snacks and drinks everyone will love? An easy win. And with Instacart helping deliver the snack time MVPs to your door, you're ready for the game in as fast as 30 minutes. So you never miss a play or lose your seat on the couch or have to go head to head for the last chicken wing. Shop game day faves on Instacart and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 grocery orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Other fees and terms apply.
Rebag, your premier destination for luxury resale. Elevate your style with our curated collection of bags, watches, and fine jewelry. At Rebag, quality is our priority. Each piece meticulously vetted and verified by experts, ensuring your investment is nothing short of perfection. Buy and sell finds from the world's top brands, including Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier. Access expertly crafted and hard-to-find pieces that redefine luxury. Your next investment awaits at Rebag. Get 10% off your first purchase with code REBAG10. That's 10% off the luxury you deserve. Don't miss out. Head to Rebag.com and enter code REBAG10 at checkout. That's REBAG10.
And story number 2 comes from Rose. My father was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2004. When he was first diagnosed, we were devastated because the survival rate for lung cancer is very low. My dad was an amazingly strong man and survived 11 years, including 2 reoccurrences. In those 11 years, he was in and out of hospital for various reasons. When we were at the hospital, we'd usually visit the cafeteria, which was in the basement. I went there dozens of times. In November 2015, my dad was in the hospital again, and as usual, I went to the cafeteria. When I stepped off the elevator, I noticed a sign for the morgue. In all the years, I never noticed it before. I commented to my husband about the sign. What an odd sign. Wouldn't the people who needed the morgue know where it is? My dad was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and every time I'd look and see the sign. In the back of my mind, I wondered if I'd noticed it because he wasn't going to make it this time. He passed away on December the 19th, 2015. The following year, my mom was in the emergency room and I made my way to the cafeteria. When I got off the elevator, I looked, but there was no sign for the morgue. That's not the type of thing you'd move temporarily. I asked my cousin who worked at that hospital and she said the morgue was never where I described. I can't explain it, but I saw a sign for the morgue every time I was there. Maybe there's a type of phenomenon that explains it. As I mentioned, he was in the hospital multiple times in those years. Many times for multiple days. It never bothered him. The second night of his final stay, he was very upset. He kept asking us how they would know where to find him. We didn't know who they were and why they were looking for him. We assumed he was confused from the medication. He was so upset. He wanted someone to stay with him. I decided that I'd spend the night. I tried to get some sleep, but trying to sleep in a hospital when you're healthy isn't easy. About 4 a.m, I noticed that he kept reaching for something. His hands were under the blanket and he would pull the blanket off and reach. I took pictures and videos to see if there was anyone there. I didn't catch anything, but recently found a YouTube channel by a hospice nurse, and she said people will often reach out like this when they're grabbing someone's hand shortly before death. My dad died 3 weeks after this. I wonder if he was reaching for a person who needed to find him. How interesting that you kept seeing the sign for the morgue while you were in the hospital. Like, there are signs for morgues in the hospital, you know, having spent a lot of time in and out of hospital, you know, a couple of years ago. There are signs for the morgue, and a part of it is like, you know, people coming to identify bodies, etc., etc. But seeing it all the time and then for the sign to disappear, I wonder if it was like the universe, your subconscious, giving you a sign that your father didn't have very long left. What a strange thing. It's almost like a really specific Mandela effect, you know? And I have heard so many stories about hospice nurses and, you know, people at the end of their life and having conversations with people that can't be seen, and how your loved ones come back and get you when it's your time. And I like to think that the people that you have loved and lost come back and get you when it's your time to go, because that feels very comforting. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Nicci and Rose for sending in your stories. Remember, the last story came from August the 15th, 2024. And as always with 31 Days of Terror, the daily stories may be a little bit shorter because, you know, we got a lot of recording to get through. If you would like to send in your own story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or $2 a month, you get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.
Hey there, it's Farnoosh Torabi, host of the So Money podcast. Imagine having a super smart and reliable virtual friend to help you guide your finances. Well, besides me. Enter Claude by Anthropic. With the power of AI, Claude can help streamline your financial tasks, from analyzing data and charts to generating code for investment models or budget trackers. Claude's advanced reasoning helps you tackle the toughest financial challenges. Take control of your financial future with the right tools. Visit Claude.ai today and start saving time and money.